I'm upside down and I don't know who I am anymore. Welcome to the magical world of upside down tarot cards, a controversial realm where meanings twist, logic spins, and at least a few people in your local metaphysical bookshop have very strong opinions.
I never read reversals. It messes with the vibe, man.
Ignore reversals at your peril, cretin.
Some readers treat reverse cards like they're haunted. Others see them as wise old sages, whispering cryptic truths through a mouthful of organic muesli. And some just flip them upright when nobody's looking. But what are reversals? And why do cards insist on doing handstands in your readings? Are they a sign from the universe? A nudge from the subconscious? Or did you just sneeze while you were shuffling the cards? In this video we're going to take a look at a few different ways to deal with reverse cards when they show up. We've got some traditional methods and some more modern ways of looking at it. Of course, this means that the same reverse card can have different meanings depending on the method that we use. Now, I've heard some people say that you should always stick with the same approach across the entire deck of cards, but I don't go along with that. What I've found is that over the years I've developed reverse meanings for certain cards that come up in a variety of different practices, but they work for me. I think that once you've read a reverse card in a particular situation, that's going to influence you in the future. It may not have exactly the same meaning in another reading, but you'll still bear it in mind if it's worked before. Of course, these meanings are subject to evolve as I keep coming across new situations, so as ever, none of this is set in stone. I'm just trying to give you a few ideas on how you can approach the upside downies so you can develop your own style and way of looking at them. Quick spoiler, it's not all doom and gloom. Sometimes it's just complicated, like your ex, or Mercury retrograde, or the Fool's astrological chart, which we're going to be looking at soon. I've got my usual lineup of authors that I'm drawing from: Arthur Edward Waite, Rachel Pollack, and in particular Mary K. Greer's excellent book Tarot Reversals, which I highly recommend if you really want to go deep into this subject. We're sticking exclusively with the Waite-Smith deck for this video. Crowley doesn't talk about reversals in the Book of Thoth, and most people I've spoken to who use the Thoth deck don't bother with them. However, some do, and I think that most of these approaches would still work with the Thoth Tarot. We're going to try some various methods on a few different cards and see what happens to their meanings. Then we're going to pop them onto our Celtic Cross spread so we can see what happens to those meanings in the various positions. A bit like a spiritual science experiment. So grab your deck, your journal, light some sage, if that's your thing, and let's figure out what those reverse cards are really trying to tell us.
I just love hanging upside down. I take it you've never had diarrhea.
Getting started with reversals. So before we start looking at the various methods for how to read reverse cards, we're going to check out some of the ways that we can get reversals into the deck to start with. Remember, we're asking the Lords of Chaos to dictate the order of the cards, and that extends to reversals too. So whatever method we use, we want it to be as random as possible. Now, I talked about shuffling briefly when I did my video on how to read tarot, but basically it comes down to how many reversals you're happy to see in your spread. For me personally, that's not very many at all. Whenever I've tried methods that reverse about half of the cards, I've found so many times that almost all of them seem to come out reversed. I can't help but feel slightly discouraged when that happens. If they're all reversed except for the odd one, I kind of feel like the whole reading is the wrong way round. However, this is your spread and you can have as many or as few upside downies as you like. Just a quick note on when you're reading for someone else. You want the cards to be in the same orientation that they were in when the querent shuffled them. When I'm doing a reading for someone, I usually sit next to them, so it's pretty straightforward. Any reverse cards are going to be reversed for both of us. If they're sitting opposite me, then I always turn the deck around before I deal, because I want the reversals to be reversed from their point of view. They need to see which cards are the right way round and which ones are upside down. So I'm going to go through a few different ways of getting reversals in your deck, and then I'm going to tell you what I do, which may surprise you, but we'll see. Going back to the ones I discussed in my how-to guide, probably the easiest way is to just put the cards down and mix them up however you like, what they call scrambling them in Vegas. Another method is to cut the deck in half and turn one side upside down. You can then do a riffle shuffle if your hands are big enough, or just a regular overhand shuffle, and it should give you a pretty decent mix between upright and reversed. However, do bear in mind that these ways can end up producing a lot of upside down cards in your reading. Okay, is that how you do it? No. Another one I've talked about before is to cut the deck into as many or as few piles as you like, and then turn the top card of each pile over. The rainbow method is quite similar, where you spread the cards face down into an arch and just pick a few at random to turn around. You then gather the cards back up and shuffle them as normal. Both these methods give you a little more control over how many cards appear reversed, but still keeps it random. You can even just turn one single card over if you like and see if it turns up in your spread.
Right, so that's how you do it.
No,
So what do you do then?
I don't do anything. What I've found is that just from generally handling the cards and doing readings, occasionally some of them turn over on their own, so I always read those as reversed. My view is that if I'm not consciously trying to get reversals, but I get one anyway, then that's gotta be a pretty solid message from the universe that I need to pay attention to that one. Sometimes the universe whispers, other times it flips a card upside down and yells,
Oi, look at this, you muppet!
Anyway, there's a few ideas on how to get reversals into your reading. Now let's have a look at how to read them when they appear.
I keep writing my ends upside down.
That sounds like a you problem. It's opposite day.
Love is hate, success is failure, and the Two of Cups means you should probably check your phone because someone's just broken up with you via cosmic WhatsApp. This has got to be the simplest way to read reverse tarot cards. Just flip the meaning entirely. Upright Ten of Pentacles, wealth and family harmony. Reverse Ten of Pentacles, bankruptcy and your nan disowns you.
Get your broke ass out of my house, loser.
It's clean, it's easy and it's very tempting. But let's be honest, it's also a bit lazy if you just slap it onto every card like it's a discount sticker.
Opposite day sale. All tarot meanings 50% off.
This is the method used by Eden Gray in the Complete Guide to the Tarot, where she says a card in this position usually yields the opposite meaning to that of the card right side up. The fact is that sometimes it works really well, but at other times it just doesn't. For example, the Seven of Swords and the Four of Pentacles upright can mean scheming and keeping things to ourselves. Reversed, we can take the opposite of those meanings and view them as someone opening up, communicating and being honest. So in this case, the inverted meaning makes perfect sense. Now let's take the Tower. One of the more scary cards in the deck. In the Key to the Tarot, Arthur Edward Waite's divinatory meanings are misery, distress, indigence, adversity, calamity, disgrace, deception, ruin. Pretty grim reading on the surface, so we could just invert that meaning if it turns up reversed and assume that everything is going to be brilliant, like the ladies on the Three of Cups have just won the lottery.
Woo!
However, that's not what we find when we read Waite's upside down meaning. He says reversed oppression, imprisonment, tyranny. Like the card wasn't bad enough when it's the right way round, but if we dig into the deeper meaning of the card, the Tower can be about a bad situation or thought pattern that has reached a point where it can't go on any longer and the whole thing collapses. Absolutely terrifying at the time, but a necessary step in our journey to clear away all our mental garbage so we can start fresh. If you've seen my video on the Fool's Journey, you know that that's what happens. His ego collapses and then he meets the Star, who tells him that he's now a blank slate with a bright future.
I thought losing everything I know would be the end of me.
Oh no, this is only the beginning.
When we look at Waite's reversed meaning, it can mean that the bad situation is still there, but it isn't getting to the point of collapse, so it just goes on and on. This is the imprisonment that Waite's talking about. If the Tower isn't destroyed by the lightning flash, then we're stuck there, prisoners of our own making. Therefore, if we simply invert the meaning of the card, then we miss out on all of that important information that could lead to a breakthrough. Now, I'm not saying that you should dismiss the inverted method entirely, because sometimes it's obvious and it works really well. But personally, I wouldn't want to read every reverse card as the opposite of the upright meaning.
What's the opposite of a cross-armed?
A happy uncle? Energetic traffic jams and other mystical inconveniences.
Sometimes a card isn't saying no, it's just saying not yet. Or it could be saying yes, but we've closed the motorway, so you're going to have to follow the shitty diversion again. This is the blocked or delayed energy method, where the card's upright meaning is still present, but something's getting in the way. It's like the Wi-Fi of your soul is buffering. This method comes up a lot in 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack, where she says, in general, a reverse card indicates that the qualities of that card have become blocked, distorted, or channeled in another direction. Let's take a look at the Eight of Wands, for example. Upright, it's all go, go, go. Fast movement, messages flying in, emails answered before they're even sent. Wherever you're going, you're getting there fast. Reversed, it can be exactly the same energy, but it's stuck at the airport. The plan's still happening, but now there's a delay, and possibly an argument with a desk attendant. Maybe you're having to wait for something to happen before you can move on, and you're getting frustrated. The chariot upright is all about heading towards victory and being in full control of the situation. Reversed, it's like you've still got the handbrake on. You've got all the will and motivation, but the sphinxes are arguing and pulling in different directions, so you're losing your way. I think my favourite example of this method is the sun. Upright, it's one of the best cards in the tarot. Not just happiness, but illumination and clarity. It depicts those rare times when everything has worked out and we can see and feel the wonder of the universe. Rachel Pollack says the card signifies joy, happiness, and a great sense of the beauty of life. In its deepest sense, it means looking at the world in a whole new way, seeing all life united in joy and light. Now, if we reverse that card, it can mean that the sun hasn't gone anywhere, we're just not seeing it. The light from the sun has become blocked and we've lost sight of all the joy and wonder. Pollock goes on to say, reversed, the good things don't become lost but confused, as if the sun had become clouded over. Life is still giving the person a time of simple happiness, but it cannot be seen so clearly. This works really well with the star too. There's hope and optimism available, but we just can't see it because we're too wrapped up in our own despair and negativity. In other words, we're blocking it out. This method reminds us that reverse cards don't have to mean failure or doom. Sometimes they're just gentle nudges or frustrated foot tapping from the universe. The cards can be telling you that you're on the right track, but there's a tree in the middle of it, so you're going to need to go round. The beauty of this is that it opens up the reading. Instead of a brick wall, you get a puzzle. Instead of this won't happen, it becomes what's in the way? What can I unblock? Where's the energetic hair clog? And let's try the metaphysical draino.
Doctor, I think I've got blocked ears. Can you describe the symptoms?
Well, Homer's fat and Marge has got blue hair.
Help! My wand's on fire and I can't calm down.
This is kind of the opposite of what we were just talking about, where the energy is so abundant that it goes to extremes. The upright meaning isn't blocked, it's bursting out all over the place, like a can of fizzy emotions that someone's just shook and then handed to you with a straight face. Excessive energy is when the energy of the card is all too present and it's gone a little bit crazy. This method often lends itself to the Wands and Swords cards, which are the active elements of the four suits. I talked in my video on the aces about how the Ace of Wands can mean the root concept of will and desire. When we turn it upside down, it can mean that energy is flowing so fast that it becomes impossible to control. All that enthusiasm has led to chaos, what Rachel Pollack refers to as undirected energy. The logical conclusion is that it eventually burns itself out, and we're left confused and surrounded by a few smouldering embers. The Knight of Swords upright can signify strength and bravery, the ability to overcome any obstacle through his sheer determination. In the reverse, it can mean all of that energy being spent in the wrong way, wildly charging into a situation that requires a calmer and more thoughtful approach. It can also manifest as aggression if it's not put to good use. The Magician is the archetype of skill and self-confidence. In the reverse, he could be using that energy for nefarious reasons, selling snake oil or knockoff copies of Photoshop. Sometimes a reverse card doesn't mean less, it means way too much. This method sees the card's upright energy cranked up to 11 and spiralling out of control. The Ace of Wands becomes chaotic overdrive, the Knight of Swords turns reckless, and the Emperor becomes a tyrant in a crown. These reversals show what happens when the energy isn't blocked, it's just too much to handle, so proceed with caution, and maybe a fire extinguisher.
Have you got anything by the doors?
Yeah, mate. A mop bucket and a fire extinguisher. Kippi's quest. Kippi's quest. No.
A light-hearted trip into the abyss of your soul.
Sometimes a reverse card isn't blocked or overloaded or opposite. It's whispering to you from under the floorboards of your psyche. This is the shadow self method. It's where a reverse card reveals the parts of you that are unconscious, repressed, or just really awkward at dinner parties. It can become quite apparent in the basis or below position of the Celtic Cross. Also, the self-guidance and the hopes and fears positions can bring this method to the fore. It can reveal what's hidden beneath the surface, your fears, insecurities, or unconscious patterns. It's not about doom or failure, but about the parts of yourself that you might be trying to avoid. Think of it as the tarot holding up a mirror to your darkest parts. The Five of Cups upright is a card of loss and grief. In the reverse, it can mean healing and acceptance, but it can also be a sign of not accepting the loss and trying to ignore the pain or keeping it from surfacing. The Devil is an interesting one for this approach. Upright, it can be a card of keeping ourselves in bondage to something that's harming us or other people. Reversed, it can mean breaking free of that bondage, but it can also reveal the part of you that still clings to it in secret, that little voice that whispers in your ear.
We're gonna change, but let's do it tomorrow.
The Queen of Wands upright is bold, radiant and magnetic. Reverse, that same fire can turn inward. She can become insecure, jealous or hide her light under a bushel. A very stylish bushel, but still a bushel. It's Kim Kardashian in hermit mode. Shadow self reversals are where the tarot calls you out. They show you what you're not looking at, what you're avoiding or what's quietly shaping your life from behind the curtain. The trick is to not demonize it. We all have shadows. They're not evil, they're just bits of us that haven't had a proper cup of tea and a chat. So if a reverse card feels too personal, too raw or weirdly accurate, that could be your shadow waving a little flag. Maybe it's time to say hello.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'm reminded that you shouldn't always trust Apple Maps.
Just look at the picture.
This is definitely one of the simplest methods and one of my favourites. Sometimes interpreting a reversal is as simple as just thinking about what would happen if the image on the card was physically upside down. Let's take the Ace of Cups. Upright, it's overflowing with spiritual love, emotional renewal, possibly holy spring water from a celestial tap. But if it was upside down, then all of that water is gonna spill. The emotions have leaked out. You feel drained, empty, like someone kicked over your cosmic bottle of Evian. The Ten of Swords is another good one. Upright, it's maximum drama. 10 swords in the back, just in case the first 9 didn't quite do the job. But reversed, the swords begin to fall out. The worst may be over. Pain is still there, but it's starting to release, like removing splinters. It's violent relief. The Hanged Man reversed is a visual classic. In the upright position, he's ironically hanging upside down. It's based on the Renaissance practice of pittura infamante, which is Italian for defaming portrait. Basically, if someone was accused of being a thief or a fraud or a traitor, then pictures of them hanging upside down would be put all over the town in order to shame that person as a form of social punishment. The fact that the hangman is doing that voluntarily with a look of enlightenment on his face is a powerful metaphor of letting go of social pressures. He's reached a point where he just doesn't care how people see him anymore. He's surrendered to it. In our time of social media and people sometimes desperately wanting to show the world how perfect and enviable their lives are, that message has become more potent than ever. But if we flip it round, it changes the whole idea. Now he's upright, but he's still got that look of ecstasy on his face. So it can mean that he's now resisting that surrender. He's gone full Instagram and become preoccupied by his public image, only acting in a way that he believes is going to make him look good. So this method is all about what the picture shows when it's flipped. A cup might spill, a figure might fall, swords might drop from a wound. Reversals can mean loss, relief or change just by shifting perspective. It's intuitive, visual, and it's often the most straightforward way to interpret a reverse card. We're just seeing the effects of gravity.
I wish gravity had never been invented. Why? Everything just went downhill after that.
So we've taken a few different methods for interpreting reversals and we've seen how that can affect the meanings of the cards. Now let's see what happens when we put them on our Celtic Cross spread. Just a quick note, I'm not going to include the crossing card here because that one's on its side, so it's always read as upright. Basically because it's bone idle.
Let's start with the present position. Here we find the Four of Pentacles, who's had a change of heart and become less concerned with clinging onto things.
I let go of control and accidentally gave my wallet to a raccoon.
In the basis or below position, we've got the reversed moon. This can mean deep-seated confusion or self-deception. Your shadow wants to be seen, but you're still hiding in the fog.
I know what's going on. Probably. Maybe. Has anyone got a flashlight?
Up in the conscious awareness position, we've got the upside-down Queen of Swords, who could be desiring clarity, but also masking a fear of vulnerability, trying to control her feelings through intellect.
I still want the truth, as long as it doesn't hurt or require therapy.
Let's pop the reverse Knight of Wands in the recent past. This could mean all that energy has led to reckless behaviour and perhaps a few regrets.
I didn't plan, I just kicked the door in. I didn't know it was a funeral.
The Three of Cups in the near future position could mean an upcoming disappointment relating to a social situation.
Where's the wine?
You said you were gonna get it.
Bugger this, I'm going home.
Moving on to the staff, in the self and guidance position we've got the reverse judgment card. This could be telling you that you have a calling but you're ignoring it, possibly through a fear of transformation.
I can't hear my higher calling because I've got headphones in. Forever.
Let's pop the reverse Seven of Swords in the environment position. This could relate to a friend or colleague who's been acting rather sneaky, but the truth is starting to emerge. A secret may be exposed.
Nothing to see here, just returning the swords that I borrowed.
Now let's see what happens to the High Priestess in the hopes and fears position. This could mean a strong desire for deep inner knowledge, but a fear of what you might find if you go there.
I'm ready to unlock my intuition. Unless it says something I don't like.
Finally, let's finish the spread with the reversed Fool in the outcome position. This can mean that if you stay on your current path, you might lose an opportunity, because you'll spend too long thinking about it rather than trusting your instincts.
I set out to find my destiny, but I couldn't decide which shoes to wear.
The big takeaway is that reversals don't have to be terrifying or confusing. Sometimes they can just be blocked energy. Other times they're exaggerated. Sometimes there's stuff hiding in your psychic basement, waiting patiently with a cup of tea and a suppressed memory. And sometimes they just look funny upside down. What matters is how you choose to read them. You don't have to use every method at once. These are just a few things to bear in mind when they show up. Try them out. Flip some cards and see what fits. Because at the end of the day, reversals don't take away meaning. They show us what's stuck, what's stirring, and what's sneaking around in the emotional crawl space. So trust your gut, read the cards, and don't be afraid to turn things upside down. Sometimes that's how you find out what's really going on. I'm going to leave you with another quote from Rachel Pollack, and we're going back to the Hanged Man, because I kind of see him as the poster boy for reverse cards. Here she's talking about the comparisons to Odin. She says, none of us can know the full meaning of being alive until, like Odin, we hang on the world tree. Its roots deep beyond knowledge in the sea of experience. Its branches lost amongst the endless stars.
It's reversed, which clearly means betrayal, financial ruin, emotional collapse, and probably werewolves. Just kidding, may all your reversals come with context, closure, and a mildly supportive spirit guide. Until next time.